On the beam, here is a look at Liz Meaney, senior for Ohio State. This is her best event, 9.85 or better in 9 of 10 meets for the Buckeyes this season.
And I like that punch front mount. They don't have to do that, but it's a risk that she's willing to take, and she hits it.
Definitely a high risk to start off with your routine with, but it definitely paid off for her. Nice series combination right there.
And this look, too, certainly gives you that vantage point of if you're just a hair offline,
and you know,
awaits.
on that first straddle jump, she looked a little bit off, but she completely pulled it right back on top. And no one would know except us, because we see that vantage.
And as a gymnast, you're taught at a very young age, once you're a little bit off, to try to compensate and get back to the center of the balance beam. That
would seem hard over a tiny piece of wood below.
But you know what? It's much better than sliding off to the side of the beam, so you figure it out.
Meaney with 8 beam titles this year.
So far, solid series, 2 solid front tucks.
Right. She's confident on beam, you can tell. She's not tentative in any way.
And that's one thing that's needed on the balance beam. You need to be aggressive. You need to be confident, because if you're slower, there's more chance to make mistakes.
Right.
Setting up with a great dismount. Her Buckeye teammates enjoying that performance from Liz Meaney. On the floor for Minnesota, Carolyn Yernberg, senior from Blaine, Minnesota, former walk-on to the Gopher program. And you talk to co-head coach Meg Stevenson. She says, I take 100 more like her. Loves her both on and off the mat.
If anyone knows anything about a walk-on, many times you're definitely not guaranteed a scholarship, let alone a partial scholarship. And it's wonderful that she's a walk-on, and she's ending one of their strongest performers on the floor exercise now.
Exactly. Ranked 5th in the conference on this event. She also has a nice combination of tumbling, front-back tumbling.
She's been a Big Ten Gymnast of the Week twice this year, and the only senior on Minnesota's roster, so really putting herself into that leadership role for the other younger Golden Gophers.
Interesting front combination. That was very nice. Front full layout to a punch front and a quarter.
Showcasing her artistic skills as well. 3rd of the Big Tens in this event last year. Working her way towards setting up that final tumbling run here at the Big Tens in 2005.
It's kind of an intense dance style she has.
It's very
serious.
It's very intense and serious, but it makes you want to watch her.
Exactly. It draws you in. And again, that front tumbling, she can do it.
Yeah, we can tell her where her strengths lie. Very nice routine.
Carolyn Yernberg, the senior, sauntering off to some adulation from her Minnesota teammates. And we're back with more for the Big Ten Women's Gymnastics Championships from Iowa City. 5th rotation coming up next on CSTV. Out of the bright lights of Carver Hawkeye Arena here in Iowa City. Great performances so far, the Big Ten Women's Gymnastics Championships. And look at some of them from rotation number 4. Lisa Clark, Penn State on the vault, 9.825. Maria Opsahl of Minnesota on the floor. How about a 9.775? Liz Meaney on the beam for the Buckeyes and nailing the landing, a 9.875 for her. And then on the floor, Carolyn Yernberg with a 9.85. And the Golden Gophers liking that. Team scores through 4 rotations. Michigan State and Ohio State in the lead, but those other schools below them have had more buys than the Spartans and Buckeyes so far. And here's a peek at the lineup for the 5th rotation. Iowa on vault, Penn State with the bars, Michigan on the beam, Illinois has the floor, Minnesota, Michigan State, and Ohio State sitting out here in the 5th rotation. Here in rotation number 5 for Penn State on the bars, specialists in this apparatus, Cecile Allen, went to Westchester, then the program was dissolved, ended up back for a hometown program at Penn State.
And she's got a big routine, a little close to the bar there on the Jaeger.
Very close, but she started off the routine quite strong with a nice uprise all the way to the handstand.
And watch for her dismount. coming up right here.
Beautiful.
The double front with a half. Wow.
Nice landing. That was wonderful.
On the bars for Penn State, Kristal Uzelac, former child prodigy national team member, has come to Penn State, sort of been revitalized here in her freshman season.
I do remember watching Kristal when she was younger. She was a great competitor and had beautiful gymnastics, and she's definitely carried it to the Penn State program.
Tops on the bars for the Lions this season, 9.925 her top score, setting up for the dismount.
So far, it's been a great routine. Excellent landing.
On the beam, Deiley for Michigan. You see her season average, and Michigan had already had a fall earlier in this apparatus, so that could be valuable in the overall standings when we look at it as it wraps up towards the end of this 2005 Big Ten Championship.
Well, there are 6 competitors in every event. Only 5 scores count to the team total, so that gives you just 1 routine leeway. You can have a break on 1 routine and no more, and they've already, as you said, taken 1 fall.
And so they'll definitely have to count this fall. But she seems to be holding it together right now, being solid on her series and moving quite confidently.
How difficult is it, ladies, when you have a mistake going on to gather yourselves and keep it going?
It can be tough.
It can be quite tough. However, you've practiced a great deal, not only in practice, but in competitions to kind of hold it together. And she seems to have worked that quite well.
You have to completely put it behind you and just treat it as if you're almost starting over in your head with the routine.
Now, the 2003 Big Ten Freshman of the Year, one of the top all-around performers for Michigan.
And that big step back will cost her, too.
Back on the beam, Michigan really needing a solid performance from senior Elise Ray, defending Big Ten balance beam champ, also won the NCAA title on this particular piece of equipment as a sophomore.
Elise is normally pretty cool, calm, and collected and confident on beam. She's usually solid and has quite difficult tricks to master as well. Nice series so far.
Yes. Do you think it affects her knowing that a couple of teammates before her have fallen?
I think it does to some small degree. However, she's a veteran. She's been around for a while, been to the Olympics, been in this situation many times before, so it shouldn't affect her too much.
We saw the quick peek at the block M on one of her ankles, showing her Michigan pride in unique ways with that small little tattoo, and certainly executing some nice moves on the beam.
So far, very pretty routine.
And so far, very little deductions that the judges can take. This is a score that Michigan's going to really need.
Especially given that Penn State has had a pretty decent night on the bars. They could gain a little bit of ground here with Michigan having to count a fall.
And here Elise now comes up preparing for her dismount, which is a unique dismount. It's very pretty, off the side of the beam.
Michigan needed a solid score, and the senior delivers. Elise Ray coming through for the Wolverines.
And here's her dismount again. Cartwheel, side full, beautiful form. Slight deduction on the landing.
Elise Ray delivering for Michigan. We'll see how it affects the team standings in a moment here on CSTV.